Okay, I'm here with Darren Douglas. Darren, I got a question via message from a local basketball player. I won't give his name, but he's a very good player, a sophomore, plays for one of the best teams in the area, is a contributor already. And the question is, he says, hey, hello, Mr. Cook. I enjoy watching the material you put out about the athletes here in Augusta. I appreciate what you do. It's very nice of him to say. Then he says, I was wondering if you knew of any workshops or events I could attend to find out more information about getting recruitment and offers. Or do you know any information or resources or experiences that you can share about recruitment? Now, when it comes to the first part, seminars and things like that, maybe you'll know about some of that, and please, give that information whenever the time's right. But I was hoping that we could get into just more of your knowledge about the whole process. You just had a former player of yours, Trey Gamillion, sign and go to campus at Cleveland State, a Division I mid-major college, and you've got another player that's over at I think it's South Georgia Tech.
South Georgia State.
South Georgia State, Daniel Parrish. So Trey Gamillion, Daniel Parrish, former players of yours at Aquinas, where you won a state title. So you're an expert on this topic, and so we can help players like this young man, and in my opinion, just about everyone else out there that's playing basketball has this goal of playing college basketball and getting a scholarship. How would you answer that question?
To the first question about camps and seminars, I would just look out on social media. There are a lot of great exposure camps in Georgia. You can go to some of Corey Black's events. You could look into the hoop scene events. You could look into SEBA. There's so much on that front. But first off, on the second end is things that can help you with your recruitment. I would say first and foremost, it's just the grades. The better your grades, the better chance you will have to play college basketball. The more that you can help yourself. We had other guys that could put their Hope Scholarship with whatever they got for basketball, and it's the same thing. So academics must come first. Secondly, put together a plan. Make sure you go to your guidance counselor, figure out if you're on track to have the academic requirements that will help you go to a 4-year school. Sometimes you'll see guys and they've done enough in high school to go to a 2-year school.
Yeah.
And I think that knowledge is not out there, and kids are going through high school and they're taking the easiest route or whatever and then by the time their senior year comes, they're scrambling and trying to catch up because you didn't have that knowledge first. Outside of that, you just
let's dig into some of those things. Now, when it comes to 2-year school versus 4-year school, I think I know, and we can compare notes on this. What do you need to be able to be a 4-year college player fresh out of high school versus being a 2-year college player?
I have it on a sheet.
Yeah.
I don't have it in front of me, but I know it's just like your core classes, the right kind of math, the right kind of ELA, your social studies and science. Sometimes guys will take, I know for sure in math, because I just caught one of my guys. They're taking foundational math, which doesn't put the credit towards what you need to go to a 4-year school when you're a senior. Now, he's a freshman, and we caught it early enough that we could switch him and put him in the right class. But just little things like that. If you don't have the right amount of core credits when you graduate as a senior, you're not eligible to go to a 4-year school. You can only go to a 2-year school, which in the basketball world we call a junior college.
Yeah. So core credits, definitely a thing, and that's, to your point, something people can look up. Maybe I'll be able to do it before I publish this, but it's something like these days. I want to say you kind of have to take 4 years of math, 4 years of language arts, 4 years of science, 4 years of history. Probably, is it 3 years of foreign language by now?
2 years of foreign
2
language.
years of foreign language.
2 years of foreign language.
And maybe it's not 4 in every one of those, but it's almost 4 in every one of those.
I know for a fact it's 4 in ELA, 4 in math. I want to say 4 in science or social studies. Don't quote me on this.
Yeah.
And then maybe 3 in the other one. You got to have 2 foreign languages.
Yeah, and then the point after that, to your point about like foundational math, it has to be the right kind of each subject.
Math. Yes.
And there's a way to check it against I guess it would be like clearinghouse type information. I know there's a website with the NCAA where you can plug in your class and see if it fits.
There is, but your guidance counselor will know all of this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I figured it out, was just talking to a guidance counselor, and they're, looking over schedules, and they're saying, okay, what's the plan? Do they want to go to college? At this, they want to have a chance to go here or there, and yes, they want to have a chance to go to a 4-year college once they graduate in a few years. Okay, well, he can't have this math; he has to have a different math.
Yeah.
And once again, your guidance counselor can tell you if you're on the right track, and then from there make the necessary steps.
Now that's about credits, but then on top of that, you have to have a certain GPA in those core classes. Your PE class can't help your GPA.
Yes, it won't help it.
In those classes, what's your GPA? College basketball types will call that your core GPA, and if it's not good enough, then that you might have the credits, but you don't have the high enough GPA. Now, when it comes to the GPA, I think it's 2.4 if you want to play Division I basketball.
2.4, but I mean, you should strive. To have more. I just feel like if you're just carrying a 2.4 and you are blessed to go to college, you're going to struggle there because there's already a telltale sign that you either are struggling with learning, or, which is the majority of most of this, when you have low grades, you have low time management skills. And so, a 2.4 it'll help you, but you should be striving to get 3.0 if you can.
Yeah, and higher. I mean, if you have good time management skills when it comes to your studies, you're likely to have either good or great time management skills when it comes to you playing basketball, because that's what you love to do.
Yes.
If you have poor time management skills when it comes to your study, even if you love to play basketball, you're probably not going to have great time management skills when it comes to what you're doing on the court, and that will catch up with you at some point in time when the talent level starts to get tougher and tougher when you do play college basketball. But that GPA, so I think it's 2.4 to play Division I. But to your point, it needs to be higher if you want to be successful. But I think we would find if guys were to listen to this and then go to their guidance counselor, get down to core GPA, not overall GPA, many more people than we might expect would have less than a 2.4. And so that's a quick thing that people can do to know, if you're a freshman or a sophomore or a junior, to try to catch it before it gets too late. Because when you're a senior, it's very hard to pull up 3 years worth of GPA in 1 year. And then on top of that, college coaches, if you're a senior, college coaches are very far along their process of who they're trying to look at, who they're trying to recruit. So if you're not in position as a senior, it's a long shot for you to get in position in time for them to give you a chance, before you graduate.
Yes, that's correct. And then you just want to make yourself attractive. Like when a college coach looks at your transcripts, in my experience, they ask for the transcript. If it checks out, then they know this is a guy I'm not going to have to worry about when he steps on campus about getting his academics. I've seen both. I've had guys with great grades in colleges move on to the next step in the process of recruitment, and I've had guys that have not had great grades. And most coaches, I know me, I'm just going to tell them the truth with what I see, and they've seen not up to what they think, and it's been higher than a 2.4 in both of those instances. But the coaches just said, "Coach, I can't do anything with that."
Yeah.
And I think this kid
I've got
was a 2.7.
somebody just as good with a 3.4.
Yeah, exactly. Because it all matches up with, we all say we want to play college basketball, but we know college basketball is an academic thing. Of course they make tons of money for the NCAA and everything, but it's academic when you get there. And so your GPA, when a coach looks at it, he's looking at, okay, what are his habits? He says he wants to play at this level, but his current habit system that he has right now, which is lending to him have a lower core GPA, is that in line with what he says he wants to do? A lot of times people say they want to do, but when it comes time to doing it and they realize how hard it is, you go off into another way. So it's just being, I think, to come back around to the beginning of the question, if you can manage your academics, get you some great time management skills, and have a system to where you can self-assess yourself every day, It will make the college recruitment process, it will make your time in high school and for however long you have for your career, you'll maximize it. You'll get out of it exactly what the most you can get out of it. I think that's it in a nutshell. Like if you can do those three things, and then of course you have to be able to play. But if you can do those things, if you can get a great habit system, time management, and just really, really lock into what you need to do, it's easier than what guys think it is if you can do those things.
Just to finish up with some of the great stuff, 2.4 to play Division I. You can have a lower than 2.4 and qualify to play Division II, and I guess 3 or whatever. But if you think about Division II, but then you start getting into how good is your standardized test score, ACT or
Yes.
SET. So the lower below 2.4 you go, the higher your standardized test score has to be. And then even with Division I, if you have a 2.4 or even a 3.4, there's a certain level that your standardized test score does have to be. Used to be 2.0 and 700. They've got a whole new scale now. I don't know, is it like 900 or so now?
It's up in the nines. I mean, just your core GPA. Like, to me, that's the thing, because like you said, the lower it is, the higher you have to get on the test. And we all know if you have a lower core GPA, the likelihood of you scoring really, really high on the test is almost to nil. And so, the thing we try to tell our guys is we don't even want to have to rely on a test. Yeah, we got to take the test, but if you just handle your business day in and day out, the test is just the test.
Yeah.
And those habits, like once again, those habits of just getting up every day, locking in, getting your assignments done, working out, doing the things that you need to do, lend further help to you being what you need to be when you get to college. I think too, a lot of guys just say, I want to go to college, and all of that stuff is not together. And then you get there and it's all thrown at you at once that you got to do this. You got to be in class at time. You got to work out. You got to have these assignments turned in. Oh, wait, mom and dad's not here to stand over the top of you and make sure that you're doing these things. You have to do it yourself. Then it's a struggle, and we kind of have this cycle of, I'm going off to college for a year or a semester, and then I'm back at home. So, I get it. Guys want to go and play college basketball, but college basketball should never be the goal. You should want to go and play, but you should also want to graduate when you get to college, because that is what's going to carry you far in life. Not saying you can't go to the league, not saying you can't do any of that kind of stuff, can't play professional basketball, but when you get 40, you're going to need a college degree versus being able to say, I just played in college.
Yeah, and when you get 40 or when you get 22, if you're not good enough. I've been there. Now, when it comes to a whole nother topic, not another topic, but another strand of this topic is just how guys approach this whole situation. Like most of the people who are very good at basketball, whether they're in all the way down to like 5th grade now, kind of have this goal of being a big-time college basketball player, if not an NBA player. And, the math says that that's extremely difficult for everybody who wants to do that, being able to do that. And, we've seen the statistics a million times about, what percentage of players actually achieve those goals. And so something that weighs on my mind is, how do people handle themselves throughout that process and do it in a way that they're, the buzzword these days is mental health. Yeah. How do they feel about themselves as a 7th grader, 8th grader, 9th grader, 10th grader, 11th grader, and 12th grader who's trying to achieve these goals and sees other people achieving them, and one day they might achieve it and they might not, and how do they handle that? So when it comes to pursuing this goal but keeping your head about you and not concentrating on what other people are doing and then comparing yourselves to that and either thinking of yourself as a success or a failure based on what other people are achieving, what's some advice you can give to people who are striving for greatness in this area?
Okay, so first off, you have to cultivate your circle the right way. If you don't know what that means, that's just in layman's term, sit down really one day, take out a piece of paper and a pencil and ask yourself, who are the people you are around every day? and you put a plus by them if they're somebody that you think are helping you achieve your goal. You put a minus by them if they are not. The minuses, you have to get them out ASAP. They have to go. From that, when we go to the comparison thing, you know, we've all heard comparison is the thief of joy. I agree with that. But I don't think that comparing is a bad thing. I just think that people compare the wrong things. Like if you compare little stuff, how a guy works out every day, how is he getting to class, how is he taking care of his academics, how does he move as a person, I think nobody really cares to compare those things. We want to compare how many YouTube likes he has, how many points he scored in a game, why does he get to shoot it like this and I don't. And I think when you do that, you're just setting yourself up to be miserable. So you have to be measured about what you're comparing and be intentional about what you're comparing. If you see a guy, I tell my guys this all the time, you guys see guys and you think they're great. Nobody, you know, depending on where you are, you're not going to get to shoot as much as they do or do these things, but the things you can get from them, you can get how they work out, you know, and especially with social media these days. And that's something that I always say, like the best people that I've known, like the top of their field, you can reach out to them and they have no problem reaching out back. It's almost like that's just a feature that comes with great people. They have no problem with sharing what they have. So you can ask them, hey man, what's your workout routine?
Yeah.
What are you doing to stay on top in class? How did you study for the SAT, ACT? You know, those things are important, and I think we don't talk about that enough. And so, of course, with social media and with how technology is today, doing those things, they could prove vital. They could help you along your journey. I've done it. I can't tell you how many coaches I've reached out to and said, hey, man, I seen this clip of you doing this. Can you explain to me how you do it? And I'll say maybe a 95% rate, they get right back to me. They either ask for a number or they'll send me a PDF, and from there, that's how you build those relationships. But I've never went to a guy and said, hey, how did you win all of those games? Or how did you, because that's subjective. Like, that's not even within your control. It's not within your control if someone's going to look at your YouTube or you're going to have a whole bunch of likes. You have no control over that. You have no control over if you're going to be able to shoot it 30 times a game like this kid that you're looking up to. For all kind of reasons. Your coach might not want it. The defense may game plan against it. So those things aren't within your control, but you can control what time you get up and how you work. You can control how you manage your time. You can control those things. So I just think comparing that way, it will teach you the skills when you apply it narrowly. Yeah. But when you compare the big stuff, it'll take your joy. It'll leave you anxious. It'll leave you depressed when you see somebody else doing things like that. So it's you know, just make it narrow when you want to compare.
Yeah, so about comparing, you know, to bring it to like a personal thing, like I, as you know, do this website with sports. You know, I'll admit I look at social media, and if I'm not careful, I'll look at other websites, I don't know if you call them reporters or whatever, and they'll be more successful than me. You know, outward results, whether it be followers or money or just clout in the world. And if I'm not careful, that'll make me angry, or it'll make me jealous, or it'll make me, other people might call it anxious or depressed. Yeah. And you know, and I'm not saying, you know, depressed, but those kinds of feelings. You might look at coaches that have, you know, big names or many state championships or whatever, and you might, if you're not careful, compare yourself. So I can definitely see when a young man who wants to be a college basketball player, this is something you and I didn't have to struggle with. Like I've seen recently one of your region rivals, Heritage Conyers. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know anything about that team, so I try to pay attention when I see information about them, and I see that they've got a couple players who are Division I prospects. Can't go a day or two without hearing about one of them having an offer from this Division I school or that Division I school. Now, I suspect that some of your better players, some of Evans's better players, and some of Lakeside's better players are just as good as those players. I could be wrong, but that's my assumption based on my years watching this stuff. And so if I'm one of those guys, I might be be tempted to say, well, why does he have offers and why do I not have offers? And so that's when you say what you compare, you and I can make the mistake of comparing things like state championships and followers for a media site or profits for a media business or anything like that. And they can make the mistake of saying offers for my competitor versus offers for myself. And you're saying that's not the thing you want to compare. And just to get it, because those aren't things that are within your control, right? You can't offer yourself a scholarship.
You can't offer it. The coach has to like you. And then even going broader than that, like, if you change your thinking and you wire yourself and say, I just want to be like in the top 1% of what I'm doing. Yeah. And that's extremely hard. It's hard, but if you want to be in the top 1% of a domain, you can't like take the cues from everybody else. You can't take those social norms of 99% of people. Like, and I know that's hard. It's way harder than it sounds because people are wired to imitate. You see somebody else and they're flashy and they have this and you say, well, I want to do that too. But the further you want to climb, the further that you want to go, the more carefully you need to go about doing these things. And so it just all comes back to, like, I want to play college basketball. This guy is over here, and you hear it all the time. I hear it in every gym I go to. How'd he get an offer? I'm way better than him. I busted him in AAU, or when we played, I had this, and he didn't have this. Yeah, but are you really, really constructing and looking at your life? Yes, he may have this offer, and yes, you may even be better than him. How are you getting to class on time? What type of person are you? What is your work ethic like? Yeah, you may have got him this game and had 25 and he had 20, but he got the D1 offer. But this is a guy that's getting up at 5 every morning and running and taking care of himself. And you roll out of bed and you show up to school and you just make it through the day and you get back to the game. All of these things, and it may seem hard to a young person, but these are things that will take you far in life. If you use basketball, we have all heard it, use basketball, don't let basketball use you. And to me, what that means is you take the discipline, the structure, the things that you get from basketball, you apply it to your everyday life, you monitor yourself, you self-improve. The goals that you want to get, you're going to hit them. You'll smash them, actually, if you're serious about it. And you just go like that, you know what I mean? Every night, I ask these 3 questions. I ask my players to do it. What did I do well today? What did I not do well today? The thing that I didn't do well today, what can I do to improve it? I ask myself this every single night. And when I started asking myself this every single night, the things that I said I wanted, they were in access. When I wasn't doing this, they would come maybe every now and then. And it's almost like a little trick. And yeah, it sounds basic. I'm asking myself these questions. But what it does is it helps you assess yourself. You're almost running your life like a business. And college basketball is a business. When you get there, you'll have a brand if you're good enough. Look at Zion Williamson. Look at some of these guys. So you have to take very, very careful care of that. You have to make sure you're handling it delicately. You got to make sure you got the right type of people around you so they're not damaging it. And from there, you'll fly, man. And I can say that from personal experience. When I started asking myself those questions every day and being honest with myself and saying, okay, I was great at building relationships with my guys today. All right, today I was kind of off on my organization. I had these tasks that I needed to do. I didn't do them. They missed the deadline. How do I fix this? Go ahead, make sure I knock them out, put them at the first of my to-do list tomorrow. Once I started doing that and getting really, really disciplined with that, a state championship come. All my guys going to college. I can, I'm getting all of these things that when I didn't have them, I was sitting back saying I wanted them. But when I didn't have them and I wanted them, I wasn't applying the stuff that I needed in my life. Another thing I would tell anybody that's aspiring to go play college basketball, to go be anything great, read at least 20 minutes a day. And not just like, I still read like, my fantasy books and novels like that, but there's so much self-help and so much things that you can do and you can read it, you apply. I try to read an hour a day. And then every chapter that I read, I go back and I break it down and make questions over it. And I go back and those type of things, man, just reassess, assess yourself, reassess, assess yourself, reassess. I'm telling you, you'll meet those goals. You'll go to college. You'll go there, and you'll have the tool set to be successful at college if you do these things.
I think that's a great way to end it. For that 10th grader out there that is striving for a very lofty goal, like earning a college basketball scholarship, if you are to end every day with an assessment of how you did that day and you do it sincerely, if you do that, then that will put the thoughts in your mind that cause you to the very next day try to address the things that you were honest with yourself about that need addressing. And if you do that every single day, it'll compound on itself and you'll get so much better at these things that you're trying to get better at. And so very few people else will be doing anything like that you will be in that top 1% type of situation that you described earlier, and then you will be able to achieve what mathematically seems like an almost unachievable goal.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to end it. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate
and
it.
I know the guys around town will appreciate your words.
Okay. You guys just keep grinding, man.